Hi everyone, this is Ronnie Bincer, the Hangout Helper. We're doing a series of videos showing how chefs are using Hangouts on Air to have pretty much their own TV network of cooking opportunities. So we're going to start out with Jenni Field here. This is one of many, so you want to check into some others as well. But Jenni, can you tell us a little bit about yourself as well as how are you currently using Hangouts with your cooking endeavors online?
Sure. I'm Jenni Field from Pastry Chef Online. My background is mainly in education. I was a teacher, special education teacher for 16 years before I went to culinary school. And I find Hangouts on Air is a wonderful tool in marrying both teaching and cooking together into one wonderful thing. I like the immediacy of the Hangout on Air. I can see the people who are asking me questions, or at the very least, the questions come up almost in real time. And I can get feedback all along the way. Do you need to see something again? And just make sure that my demonstration is as clear as possible.
Cool. So let me ask you a couple standard questions that we're going to be asking all the chefs. When you do your Hangout on Air shows, have you run into technology challenges as well as potentially emotional challenges?
Well, emotionally, I usually am a wreck before I start. As soon as I hit the start broadcast, then I switch from being a crazed technology person into being a teacher, and the anxiety goes away as soon as I hit start broadcast. But beforehand, my husband knows to stay really far away from the kitchen when I'm trying to get ready for these things.
Okay, but that's emotionally. How about the technologically? Have you, played with different equipment and things like that and found something that works for you?
Well, I I didn't buy a bunch of dedicated equipment to begin with because I wasn't sure how it was going to work for me. So I just brought in like 47 lamps from around the house to make sure I had enough light and things like that. And that all worked fine. It was sort of my standard, I'm rigging this up. But I think it's good to know that you can start these without like a full-fledged recording studio, you know. Um, some of the challenges have been because in cooking I tend to walk around a lot, so I have to make sure I have everything like right in front of me because I usually take my microphone cord and tape it to the countertop so it's
Okay.
not swinging around. So I have to make sure that I have all of my stuff with me, but that's good practice anyway.
So
So yeah.
it would be fair to say that you might want to practice at least a couple times before you feel comfortable with the technology, right?
I would say so. I did not really practice before I did my first one, and it was a little horrifying until I hit start, and then it was great. But yeah, I think I probably would have been a little less freakish about it had I practiced a couple of times
Okay.
before.
Well, let's ask the other side. I'm assuming that with your cooking, it's not just you broadcasting and others just listening, but you sometimes have others in the film strip. Is that accurate?
Yes, I've had I think I've had a full film strip before, so 9 other people inside. And sometimes when there's that many people, there's some talking over each other, so you have to have rules like maybe there's one person who's the moderator, everybody else is muted, and they can write their questions in chat, that sort of thing. Or I'll build in breaks to say, okay, if you have questions now, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask, that sort of thing.
Okay, so
Because
I was going to say, I would assume at some point, besides being a chef, you also have to be a host of the Hangout and help everybody understand this is what you can and can't do that will work well or won't work well. Is that
Yes, normally when I'd invite my peanut gallery people, I'd ask them to come 15 or 20 minutes early, and then we'd go over the rules, especially for people who hadn't done them before, and just kind of get them familiar with the interface and where all of the settings are and that sort of thing, so they can better deal with anything that would come up.
great? So then it would be fair to say, wouldn't it, that there are technological challenges also on the guests end, and you have to get, or you get to help. And how about occasional emotional challenges like tongue-tied or something like that?
I've never had anybody else get like that. I will say I did a HOA that I thought was really, really great. It was an in-store demonstration, and it was also a Hangout on Air. So I had a live audience in a store, and then I had my film strip, which was full. I think I had 8 or 9 people in the film strip with me. And one thing that I needed to remember to do, which I didn't, was when somebody in the live audience had a question, I needed to repeat it for the people in the film strip, and vice versa. But otherwise, it was kind of cool to have that interactive ability. I even at one point turned the computer around so the live audience could see the people in the film strip, and they could.
And vice versa, they could see each
other.
Right?
Yeah. So it was cool. It was really cool. It was just like having a larger audience.
Okay. Well, let's shift for a second here to the food and the kinds of food and prep. Do you feel that there's certain types of food that work better than others when you're doing your cooking shows, and how do you go about preparing ahead of time for the show?
I usually do kind of a lot of prep. I found that the more succinct I can keep a Hangout on Air, the better I can keep everybody's attention. So things like cakes are actually good to do, like say maybe a cheesecake or something, because I can have one that I've already baked, and I can say, ooh, look what we're going to make today, and then the actual mixing of the batter really doesn't take that long, and then it goes into the oven, and then we can talk a little bit, question and answer, and then I can switch to slicing it and then showing it plated. So I can do a Hangout showing something that in real time might take a couple of hours in maybe, say, 20-25 minutes, because I've got one to start, show them how to mix, throw it in the oven, and then show them how to slice it and plate it.
Hey, that's fantastic. So that was the last of the standard questions, is do you think it's wise to have things prepared in different stages? And clearly the answer is yes.
Yeah, through the miracle of television, like they say on actual broadcast television. Yeah, I think it's important, especially for people who are watching later. Watching a YouTube video is kind of about immediate gratification. Most people are looking for the shortest video possible to show them what they want to know.
They don't want to wait the 15 minutes while it's sitting in the oven, right?
Well, exactly. So if I can say, ta-da, up front, or at the very least show a picture, of what's going to happen right up front, then maybe they'll be more likely to stick around. Of course, the people in the film strip it's a riveting interaction. I like to think anyway it's riveting because it's happening right then, and they can ask questions. But for people coming in later watching on YouTube or maybe embedded in my website or something, they don't have the opportunity to ask the questions, so I have to show them up front, oh, look at this awesome thing I'm going to make, stick around and you can learn how to make it.
Okay, cool. So now I'm going to go for some free-form questions here. Have you ever watched your own shows after you did them?
Yeah, I watched them. I watched the whole thing. I'm like, oh, wow, that was awesome. Or, oh, I said this word a little too frequently. I tend to get in cycles with words, and I'll say obviously in a Hangout like 47 times. And I'm like, oh, my God, please stop saying obviously.
So that's practice makes perfect, right? If you can remember that word that you're not supposed to say.
Right, that's on my naughty list. I cross off obviously. I'm going to have to come up with more synonyms for that
obviously,
word. Obviously.
So how about have people after the fact given you private communication about their session with you, or that they were watching it? Have you gotten any feedback from that?
Well, from film strip people or peanut gallery people, whatever people choose to call them, usually the feedback is pretty immediate after I hit stop broadcast. They're all like, this went well, this didn't go so well. So it's great to get that feedback, because a lot of the people in my film strips are people who also have done these or want to do Hangouts on Air, and so they kind of know what to look for, and so we sort of help each other be better.
Right. This whole technology with the Hangout on Air is, I think, incredibly awesome because it's so collaborative. Everybody's helping each other figure out what's the best way, what's your best voice. I mean, that's really, really pretty cool.
Yeah, because everybody will end up with a different style. Some people are more chatty, some people are more instructive. So, there's just so many different ways to do it, and there's no one way that's completely right. And so if anybody who learns anything about this this HOA whole global deal of HOAs, and they want to keep that to themselves, then they don't grow.
Hmm.
You know, you have to share that information so everybody kind of comes up together.
Yeah, and you had mentioned it, but I just want to stress it because I'm the Hangout helper. See, right there, the Hangout helper. Um, that after the show's over and you're done with your live broadcast, that is some of the most valuable time after the camera's broadcast. It's not turned. The camera's not turned off. Sorry. After the recording ends, let's say, that valuable time post Hangout, I still call it the green room. It's the green room after the show, is incredibly valuable. And if you can, if you're in the film strip, don't just disappear right when it's over. Stick around and see what people say, because that's usually one of the best times to learn a little bit about what worked, what didn't work, and what you're going to try next time. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. And I mean, I learned that from you. I learned a lot of this Hangout stuff from you. The first time I met you was before somebody else's Hangout on air, and we had a technical question, and they pinged you, and lo and behold, you showed up. We're like, oh, hello, Ronnie Bincer. You know, I mean, it was just, it
Who's
was,
that guy?
yeah, but, you know, immediate help. And that's, I mean, and it's invaluable because it's all new, and as you know, it changes all the time.
Yes.
So somebody has to keep up with that, and you're that dude. So
But wouldn't you agree that the green room? I know beforehand it's nice to chat, but usually after the show's over is
yeah,
when
because
like
then you can look at what you've just done with a more critical eye, and it's still fresh. So you can say, oh, remember this part where I did whatever, and talk about that. And then after the green room is over and everybody's gone away, when I rewatch the broadcast, which as soon as it's up, I'll watch it just to see, and then I can see, you know, and criticize not only with my own eyes, but remember what the folks in the green room just said about whatever segment I had questions about.
right.
So I think that paying attention to what your film strip people say and rewatching your broadcast can only help make you any subsequent broadcast that much more successful.
Right. So, okay, so this one's going to be one of a few different interviews that we're doing about Hangouts on Air. We're focused on the Krafty cooking concept, which is a test study or a case study that we're trying to do on Google Plus to help brands understand that Google Plus can have impact on their brand. And bringing in the foodies is phenomenal, and I'm glad you're part of it. And so, will you be able to be part of our live broadcast as well?
Absolutely, yeah, I will be there. I'm looking forward to it.
Good. Well, great. Thanks, everyone, and we're going to sign off for now.